Hello and welcome to Retro Gaming Swede. My name is Oskar and today I'm going to show you the entirety of my Sega Dreamcast collection. There's also a really funny story about this one. Most of what you see here was gifted to me by a very dear friend. And he put small post-it notes on every single game. Like this one. This is on the Sega Saturn game, NBA Action. You can dry your ass with this. See it as a challenge. Using the manual is cheating. So, if you see a post-it note on a game, you'll know it's from him. And of course I kept them all. The notes, that is. So, of course, to start off, we have the consoles. I have 3 of these, 2 boxed and 1 loose, which is the one I used for recording all the gameplay footage in this video. Second, we'll start off with some peripherals. And both of these are, of course, the controller is one of the things you really you need, of course, to play. And I would advise you to get 4 of these, because since the Dreamcast has 4 controller ports, you should absolutely get 4 of them. Because there are some really amazing games with 4-player compatibility. Second is the gun. And yes, if you live in the US, you'll need to import one. Just remember that if you want to play House of the Dead 2, you also need to import the game. Next up, we have the fishing controller. This is actually pretty neat and nice to use. But I only have 1 game that works for it, so haven't really tried it too much, but it's really fun to play. Next, we have the keyboard. This is actually a pretty nice keyboard. Feels really nice to write on, although there's not much to do right now. It was mostly used for the online connectivity stuff. But there's, of course, typing of the dead. For saving, you need at least 1 of these. I would recommend you to get 2 or 3, because some games take up almost half the memory of 1 of these. These are actually pretty neat, because some games has small games you can play on it. Like Sonic Adventure has some sort of almost Tamagotchi game thing. And another important thing for the Dreamcast, as long as you don't want to pay extortionate amounts of money for your games, is to get 1 of these. This is called DCX, and this is called Innovation Dreamcast Compatible Super Game Converter. These makes it possible to import games from other regions and are absolutely essential for Dreamcast collecting. So, next up, I think we'll just move on to the games. And we'll start off with 18-wheeler. Checkpoint. This is actually pretty fun. You'll have to do better than this. Pick up the pace, will ya? You drive around in your big truck, trying to beat your rivals and dodge cars and tornadoes.
You're running out of time. Hurry up.
Pretty decent. Next up we have Arcade Racing Legends. This is an indie game I got late last year. Really fun. I have a review up, so if you want to check out that, I will probably leave a bar somewhere up there that you can click. Then we have Bangai O. Really fun little treasure shooter. Absolutely recommended. Really good game. Next up we have Blue Stinger. This is a pretty decent Resident Evil knockoff. The dialogue is almost as bad as in Resident Evil games, but this is sort of wrong in the wrong way. Not like in Resident Evil where it's wrong, where it's bad in the right way. So next up we have the packing game for the Dreamcast, Choo Choo Rocket. It's a puzzle game, but I haven't played it that much because it's a puzzle game. And I don't really know why they put that together with the as a packing game, because it really doesn't showcase any of the strengths of the Dreamcast other than 4-player, that there's a 4-player mode, and I do think there's online play in it, but I'm not sure. Next up we have Confidential Mission. This is a light gun game that's pretty decent. You play as a spy, sort of like James Bond, shooting a bunch of enemies. The dialogue is also super bad. Next up we have a real classic, Crazy Taxi. This is an absolutely must-play game. Really awesome, with a really solid soundtrack. Next up we have the sequel, Crazy Taxi 2. This is even better than the first, and also features a really awesome soundtrack. Then we have Fighting Vipers 2. This is, well, it's an okay fighter. It does have a gimmick that you can break your opponent's armor and stuff like that, but it's just something that doesn't click with me. I played it a bunch, but just not as fun as some of the others. Next up we have a shooter, Giga Wing. I really like this game, and if you're addicted to points hunting and high score hunting and stuff like that, this is an absolute must play. The screen can be a bit cluttered once in a while, but I still think this is worth a try. Next up we have the amazing House of the Dead 2. This is as if you crammed in a B-movie put a bunch of zombies in there, and give you a light gun. It's absolutely fantastic. If you've never played a House of the Dead game, you should. Next up, we have an awesome 2D fighting game called JoJo's Adventure. In some regions I know this is called JoJo's Venture. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I mean. And in some regions it's called JoJo's Venture. It plays sort of like a Street Fighter game. But it's absolutely amazing and awesomely wacky. Next up, we have Jet Set Radio. This is a really awesome game, and as you can see, this is sealed. But I guess you want to see some gameplay footage of this. So let's see if we can open this.
Nice.
I can't find the thing you're supposed to pull. There. Look, opening a sealed Dreamcast game. Yeah, it's satisfaction. Ah. This game is absolutely amazing. You should absolutely check this out. Ooh. A never open manual. And even more. Ooh. I never played this. Anyway, I know this is called Jet Grind Radio in some regions, but it's absolute blast to play, and yes, you should play it if you get the chance. Next up, we have Maken X. This is a really weird first-person sword fighting game. It does have a really nice art style, but I haven't played this very much. Next up on the list we have Metropolis Street Racer. If you ever played the Project Gotham Racing games, this is sort of this is the first game in that series, more or less. Really solid racing game, and yes, you should play it. Next up, we have Midway's Greatest Arcade Hits. Yeah, this isn't really something for me. I never really grew up with these games, like I know some of you did. But Defender 2 is pretty nice, I guess. Next up, we have Outrigger, a third-person shooter, sort of, with a really fun multiplayer mode. Next up, we have a game called Project Justice Rival Schools 2. Plays pretty well. It's you have some absolutely amazing party attacks in this game, and this should absolutely be played. Just for the wacky characters and just for the super wacky attacks. Next up, we have one of my favorite games for the Sega Dreamcast, Power Stone. This is a really solid little weird fighter. Sort of in the vein of the Super Smash Bros. Games and the game is absolutely amazing. You should absolutely get one of these. There's a second game too, but I don't own that, unfortunately, because it tends to get insanely expensive. And then we have Phantasy Star Online. I know this is mostly for online playing and stuff like that, but this game is a really solid single player game too, and it's actually compatible with the keyboard. But I think that's just for talking to people and stuff like that. I don't think the controls work. Next up we have Roadsters. This is absolute crap. Don't get this, don't play it, don't talk about it. It's really, 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 really bad. And now we have Shenmue or Shenmue, or how you want to pronounce it. This is a really massive game, but the important thing is you can play all the Sega arcade games in it. Skip the story, play the arcade game.
Land across the sea.
Next up we have Shadow Man.
You know, on the way over
This
here,
is
I
a
got
pretty
thinking
fun,
about
pretty
these Dark
weird
Souls.
game. It looks
They're
like
so damn
absolute
dangerous.
ass
Why didn't the ancients just
and
destroy
doesn't play much better.
That's impossible. Their power is the
I know this game got one or two sequels, and I absolutely can't understand why. I really don't like this game.
An immortal, unbeatable army will bring to the earth. That's Apocalypse, Shadowman. That's the end.
Okay,
Next
okay.
up,
So I really got to get to the Dark Souls.
we have
before the
Sega Bass Fishing. And yes, you need to use the fishing controller for this one. This is absolutely super fun, and it's just like Sega to make something relaxing and nice into something super stressful. Next up, we have one of the highest rated games for the system,
I'm bonus.
Soul Calibur. And yes, Soul Calibur is an amazing game. It has a ton of sequels, and it's absolutely worth picking up. It holds up incredibly well. Then we go with Sega Rally Championship, or Sega Rally 2. Amazing racing game. Should absolutely pick this up if you have a Dreamcast. It's an absolute classic and an absolute classic. The next one is Street Fighter 3 Double Impact. Street Fighter is always good. And this is 2 games for the price of 1. Couldn't get better, right? Looks amazing, plays amazing, absolutely fantastic. Then we have Sonic Adventure. I've never really liked these 3D Sonic games, and this plays like a 3D Sonic game, so yeah, it's not really fun. Next up, we have a game called Silent Scope. This is a really fun little sniper simulator. Absolutely recommended. You should absolutely play this game. Next up we have a game called Tokyo Highway Challenge. And I really don't like this game. In the footage you'll see that it looks like I'm not turning at all, but I'm turning full. I absolutely hate the controls. And yeah, it's kind of crap. Now we move on to Zombie Revenge. This is what happens if you mix Streets of Rage and Resident Evil. It's infuriatingly hard, but it's also pretty fun. You wouldn't think those two would match pretty well, but this is absolutely amazing. Next up we have WWF Attitude. It's a wrestling game. It's absolutely horrendous. When I recorded footage for this game, I pressed a lot of buttons, but nothing really happened. I just got my ass whipped. I do not like it. Next up we have Virtua Fighter 3 TB. I don't know what the TB stands for. Tournament Battle, maybe? I'm not a huge fan of the Virtua Fighter series. I just think the games lack something. So yeah. Next up we have a game I don't have a cover for, so I'll just show you the disc. Vanishing Point. This is another absolutely horrendous racing game. And the note I got on this one is really fun. Do you want to hear an Alfa Romeo sound as a tractor? Pop this fucker in. Next up we have Worms Armageddon. And Worms Worm Party. Yeah, I'm just recording footage from one of the games because they're mostly the same. And those are always fun if you have a couple of friends over, but playing as the CPU is tedious as all hell. Because the CPU thinks a lot. Next up, we have Giant Gram. And now we start with the imports from Japan. Giant Gram. All Japanese Wrestling 2. This is a pretty decent wrestling game. Unlike the WWF, things actually happen when I press the buttons. So yeah, that's absolutely recommended. And next up we have one of the most sought after games on the system. And an absolute amazing shooter, Ikaruga. I really like this game. I know everyone doesn't, but the two shield mechanics it makes this game absolutely a blast to play. Next up we have the Japanese version of Biohazard Code Veronica. It's a Resident Evil game. A decent, good port of Code Veronica actually. But and the fun thing is the dialogue, the spoken dialogue is all in English, so it can be played, but the text might be a bit hard on it.
Facility 10 days ago.
Next up we have a really super weird fighter. Psychic Force 2012. Really fun, really weird. Absolutely recommend it. Next up we have, and then I also have the Japanese version of Machinex. And the Japanese version of Soul Calibur. And the Japanese version of Sega Rally too. And Pen 3 Salon, I think it's spelled. This is a really fun penguin racing game. Then we have Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight 2000. This is a really solid fighting game. And if you can get your hands on this, it's absolutely recommended. Then we have Japanese version of Blue Stinger. 2 Japanese Sonic Adventure. And House of the Dead 2 in Japanese. But the dialogue is still the same, so works absolutely perfect to play. And then we have Sonic Adventure 2 10th anniversary. And this is sealed. I won't open this one because I'm absolutely not playing this one. But this extra thing is opened. So you get a little book there. You get a soundtrack. And a little commemorative coin. Oh, one thing I forgot. I also have the racing wheel. That was also a gift from my friend. So I think that's it. Yeah, I don't have anything more. So, if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, well, you don't need to do anything. And I hope I'll see you around.